Good evening, boxing fans. Welcome to another episode 16 of Boxing Rampage. I'm your host, JC, accompanied by
Flaco over here. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, all. We're coming to you live again from Charlotte, North Carolina, covering another episode of boxing. Lots of fights coming up this weekend, and I want to discuss the fights this past weekend. I was
Sounds to me like I told you so.
No, it was. I'm not gonna lie. Look, man, I was really sad. I mean, after the fight, man, my wife was like, "Hey, baby, you want to come to bed?" I'm like, "No, I need like at least an hour just to process," which is because I can't fall asleep. Like it was too much for me. But if you don't know what I'm talking about the Danny Garcia fight versus Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman won a split decision over Garcia. Judges' scores were 116-112 for Thurman and 115-113 Thurman, and one judge gave it to Garcia for 115-113.
And now, the new WBC.
Then he was like, yeah! He was like, oh!
The WBA and WBC, and then
pretty much a unified champion at welterweight. Look, I saw the fight. I'm a major Danny Garcia fan. I've looked at other threads online on Instagram, on YouTube. I'm a diehard Danny Garcia fan. I really believe in him. I really believe that if they did the rematch, he would have the tools to beat him. He'd make the adjustments. But for as much as I saw that fight, with all due respect to his camp, I can't give that fight to him. I mean, I agree with the judges. I mean, I don't even think it could have gone either way. Like, I honestly think that the judges made the right decision. I scored it on my own, and for me, being as biased as I possibly could, I could only give Danny 5 rounds, 7-5. If that's about it. But most people gave 8-4, which I think that's pretty much what others had. But I can't even do a draw because Keith came out so strong in the beginning that it shocked them, and it's obviously they both respected each other's power, but with that, just Keith, he had that head start. He was winging them punches, and I mean, you guys seen the pictures on Instagram. Danny took that right hand, man, and he just he took it like a champ, and he had the composure, didn't get knocked down, but I think a lot of it was that he was being very reactive. He was waiting. It was almost like Thurman was setting the pace. He was being reactive. He was moving, but he wasn't throwing punches, and he wasn't throwing combinations. As far as cutting the ring, I mean, look, he's walked people down, but he's never done it before, so he cuts off the ring, so it's nothing new. The one thing I've always known about Garcia, and that was on display with the fight, was his defense. Excellent defense. I can't say anything about it. I mean, Keith was throwing shots. He was missing. Now, it would have been great if Danny had that defense, but he was landing punches, but Danny was throwing punches and wasn't landing them, and Keith was throwing punches and wasn't landing as well. The difference in the fight was, I think both of them had, for what they did for the night, they performed great. But honestly, compared to the other welterweights, you look at the Kell Brooks and then the escapes my mind, the Errol Spences and even the Pacquiaos of the time, they don't have the not the skills, but I don't know. They need more accuracy to compete with those guys, because I mean, those guys are aggressive. So this is basically the best fighter they can fight out of each other. Keith is number one, Danny arguably top 3-4 in the welterweight. So they didn't what they showed. I don't think they have what it takes to perform with the rest of the welterweights. What do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And what I saw on Saturday night was a B against a B plus champion. I mean, these guys they both have flaws. I saw flaws on both of them. And like you said, for me, going back to after the Matisse fight, and I'm gonna tell you something. I feel that Matisse took a lot of years of Danny. Now, Danny after that fight was never the same, and even at the Mauricio Herrera fight, he should have took that fight as a red flag and be like, oh, we got a pass. I haven't seen him change anything. He did show a little bit of defense on this fight, but he does not know how to cut the ring. He does not know how to react when big punches are landing to him. He just froze up, and he just looked confused. His father, in my opinion, I don't know what advice he was telling him, but he was not giving him any good advice. And it's insane for Angel Garcia to believe that they won that fight. In my opinion, what Danny should do is, I don't think taking Angel away, but probably finding somebody else that would teach him a couple of techniques, how to use his jab, utilize his jab.
He's got a great jab.
Yeah, but he doesn't utilize it. He don't use it. He don't set it up as much. Because if he would have been using that jab more and he would have been throwing more punches, I think the outcome of the fight would have been totally different. All he needed was, in one judge's eye, probably get 1 or 2 more points, and he would have won the fight.
Majority draw or something.
Exactly. With 1 point, he would have got him a majority draw. With 2, he would have won the fight. So, I mean, and for Keith, I don't know what. A lot of people are surprised and they call him Mr. Marathon now. But if y'all go back to the Bundu fight, he did the same exact thing.
Yeah.
He dropped the guy. He know he was ahead, and that's it. He just started moving around. And with all due respect, boxing fans do not appreciate these. Casual fans that are the ones that make big events. They do not appreciate this. And Terence Crawford got a lot of heat for not finishing or going for the finish against Postal. Why is Keith Thurman doing the same thing? Al Heyman get a lot of criticism, but then his guys are not going for the kill. So it's the same thing. A lot of these guys, when they go out there, they don't go for the kill. When you are trying to become a champion, a super champion, go for the kill, because you will regret it. So, I mean, other than that, they did really good numbers on TV ratings. I give them that. It was basically, for me, this was a mega fight. It was we do not. They let a lot of question out there. We do not know who's the number one at welterweight yet, because they both show flaws. And like you said, I still see Pacquiao beating these two guys. I still see Bradley beating them.
Kell Brook is really good.
Kell Brook. I mean. We still got questions.
If Kell Brook was able to give Triple G that much hell for 5 rounds, imagine what he does at 47. You know.
Yeah, and or even Spence. If Spence is able to go through Kell Brook and get the W, I could see Spence beating both of these guys. So, in your opinion, what's next for Garcia and Thurman?
Well, I mean, for Garcia, definitely needs to make changes to his game plan. He needs to add. If he doesn't want to change his father, at least add. This is the thing. If you don't have the legs to cut off the ring, I would just build on that defense. The only thing I would change, if he's not going to cut off the ring, he's going to keep the same game plan. I would find the way to just work on the jab to at least find the way to use your jab to pretty much go into your shots. Don't just rush into the fighter, but if you use your jab to pretty much find the way inside, then he can, find the way to the fighter when he's trying to upset him. And then obviously improve on the defense, accuracy. That's pretty much it. I mean, if he's not going to be more mobile, which I think he can be, I think it's really more that he's trying to set his shots all the time, then he should find the way to be more accurate. His punches, he has power, but the punches need to be more accurate. He needs to really concentrate when he throws his punches. But I think go well. As far as for Garcia, I mean, if they really feel I honestly think they had a bad game plan, because Thurman respects Garcia's power. If he didn't respect it, he would have been on the inside and wouldn't have made it such a close fight. But I think I think their game plan this time was really to go to the body and only the body, and it backfired on them. And Thurman knew what they were doing. That's the instruction he was given. It's hard to say. He could take the rematch and obviously risk and probably either win or risk losing again, or pass, take another fight and fight someone else. But my inkling says just take the rematch. And as far as for Thurman, his mandatory would be the winner of the Sean Porter and the Andre Berto fight. Either that, or he could just do a rematch with Danny. Either or. If I were Thurman, based on numbers, I'd probably take the Garcia rematch, because, I mean, the Sean Porter and the Berto fight, he'd probably end up facing – I favor Porter more to win that fight, and he'd be the favorite. So if he does that, then he'd probably end up fighting Porter again, but he won't do as good as numbers or get a biggest payday if he fights Garcia. And Garcia was such a close fight, and even to people, they thought it was very controversial that it would sell again and it'll probably do better numbers. I mean, the marketing was okay, but if they market it even more, then it would do even better numbers. So for the sake of more money, and then to obviously, clear the air to pretty get a convincing win, not a split decision. And, obviously probably had to fight other guys. It's probably better they just rematch each other. But we'll see. The money's there, but we'll see as far as that. So,
in my opinion, I don't think that maybe he respect that much of the power, because then you will say, oh, so he respect Bundo's power, and Bundo is a pillow-fisted fighter. The guy, he's like Paul Malignaggi. He just, he got skills, and that would make, and he's the older guy too. But I think that it's something like he just plays safe, Thurman is the kind of guy who doesn't mind being out of the ring for long.
Yeah, smart. That's what they kept telling him in the corner. Play smart. Be smart,
But when it comes to like a championship fight like this one,
can't take those chances.
Yeah, you can't take those risks. I mean,
it was Trinidad and De La Hoya, man, all over.
Yeah, the only difference is that in that fight, Trinidad was trying a little bit more than Danny, and I think that's what cost him gave him the decision, even though. Back then, I thought Trinidad won. I was completely Trinidad fan, but I saw a fight 10 years later, and I'm like, no way, Trinidad won this fight.
Hold on.
But yeah, and then moving on, I believe, and due to the fact that, and think about this, due to the fact that Amir Khan versus Manny Pacquiao is no longer a match, why not fight? Because they're talking about fighting in June. Why doesn't Keith Thurman fight Pacquiao to unify those belts,
the WBO,
with the WBO in June around there, and
Khan and Garcia,
and yeah, you could put Khan and Garcia, Broner and Garcia, or Peterson and Garcia. Those are great matches. And then the winner fight. Listen, what about this? What about if
there's a lot of mix and match?
Yeah, if Heyman and Bob Arum, they choose to work together, they could make an event, and they could make a tournament, and put a big price at the end of it. Plus, on top of the purses, let's say the winner of the tournament makes 50 million, and they could sell this, and dude, they could make a really good promotion, because they could throw in there from Heyman's side, they could throw in Danny, Sean
Thurman, Porter, Berto, Palazzo.
Yeah, all these guys that are still out there. And then from Iron Fight, you got Bradley, Pacquiao, Vargas, and...
what's the other guy's name? He's number 9, Jesse Vargas.
Yeah, I just mentioned Vargas. Hey, Terence Crawford. You could put Terence Crawford in there, man, and make a really good tournament.
Yeah.
But,
we'll see.
I mean... We could just play all fantasy all the way we want, but I think for the more rational fight, I think Adrian Broner fight against Danny Garcia next, and for Keith Thurman, put him against Peterson, or if they want to give him a light fight, give him the Argentinian guy.
Yeah, isn't Peterson who's mandatory does he become?
Yeah, Peterson is Thurman mandatory now
for the WBA. Title.
For the WBA title.
And then for the WBC, the mandatory would be...
the winner of Berto versus Sean Porter.
Peterson's not an easy fighter, man. That's for sure, because he has legs, too. That guy can move for days.
Yeah, so. that would be a good fight. And if Keith Thurman is trying to get...
if he could beat Peterson, man, he's legit.
Yeah, but if he's trying to get a soft touch, I don't think a Peterson fight will be a great fight. But... what about David Peralta against Keith Thurman? If you want a light touch, that would be a good fight.
Super light. It might backfire on him, man.
Yeah, cause he does. Cause he got that reach. He's a lengthy guy. He got his ones and twos. But honestly, I don't know. I mean, what can happen? But Keith like taking those long layoffs. And that was one thing that had me worried in the back of my mind when this fight was made. I'm like, because Danny at least took a soft touch, but he went through a camp and et cetera, and things like that help. And I think that was another thing that gave Keith Thurman some issues, being on that long layoff as well. He had some rust coming in. Because even Peterson, when you saw him in the fight, he had some some
beginning
rust on
was,
him. He was kind of, but what else we got?
Just touching on the undercards, Andres Fonfara versus Chad Dawson, that ended in a 10th round KO. Obviously, Dawson was ahead on the judges' scorecards, and Fonfara came late, knocked him out. Obviously, the Erickson Lubin versus Jorge Cota fight, that was, to the eye test, it looked very competitive in the beginning, but I think by the beginning of the third round, I saw Cota was very cautious. He started respecting Lubin's power. He was being more reactive. He was, at one point, he was at the corner of the ring, and next thing you know, in the fourth round, Erickson Lubin, knocked him out cold. So, I mean, the kid, he's got a lot of potential. I think that fight, he becomes, who's mandatory at 54? I think he becomes
Jamal Charlo,
the other
twin,
brother.
The one that stayed at 154.
Yeah, so pretty much those are the fights under the Showtime undercard. Great undercard. They all ended well. Obviously, people wanted the Garcia and Thurman fights to end in that manner, but it still was controversy, which ended well. Going across the pond, do you want to jump into UK? Or?
No, just let me touch on those cards. So basically, Fonfara gets in a good position to fight probably Adonis Stevenson again, or after he fight Adonis I heard is fighting not Joe Smith, but Joe Smith's rival, Shawnee Monahan, which is I don't know. I mean, I like Shawnee a lot. He's a kid who's gonna bring it, but I have, I'm a fan. But he might be able to, he might be playing with fire, and this could be a cherry pick gone wrong, because Shawnee gonna bring it, man. This is
turn to a really cherry bomb.
Yeah, he's a really humble kid, man. And it will be a good fight, because then Joe Smith will be his mandatory. So if Shawnee Monahan
builds him up,
yeah, because if he beats Stevens,
Adonis Stevenson.
Adonis Stevenson. I'm sorry. If he beats Adonis Stevenson, so he will have the belt, and then Joe Smith will be his mandatory, and that would be an awesome
local fight. Local fight for championships
in Long Island or in the Madison. That would be a great freaking fight. I'm crossing my fingers, and I'm hoping Shawnee pulls the upset. But and then on the undercard we had.
Lubin fight?
Lubin, I'm sorry. Lubin versus this guy, Cota.
Yeah,
that was a showcase fight. I think Lubin is still young. I saw a lot of flaws on him still. I think they should take... I know they want to make history and make him like the youngest active champion, but no rush, man. I think they should just... Take it.
It comes with a cost, man. You become a champion. Now you got to take those big fights. You can't take no time off.
Yeah, but I think he should take some tune-ups, and maybe probably next year try going for a big. Because I can see Williams beating him, man, and who knows? But yeah. So, take it from there. Yeah,
so pretty much we'll go across the pond to the UK. Obviously, the sad fight ended with Paulie Malignaggi versus Sam Eggington.
Another I told you so.
KO Nate fight. I really thought he was going to, pull the... And he was winning the fight. It's just a matter of,
remember
father time and reflexes and,
Remember Don from Fast and Furious says, almost doesn't count. Sorry, Malignaggi. I love you. I got mad love for you, man. But almost doesn't count.
I mean, he performed well, but I just think he was it's just time. Father time catches up to everyone, man. So I mean, he has a career. Showtime broadcaster, has his own podcast as well, From Brooklyn to the World. But it's nothing. It's just the nail in the coffin. I think now he has the certainty to say yes, I'm fully retired, and not because I want to retire, but also because, obviously I didn't perform well. I mean, the guy now has 8 KOs, which exceeds the amount of knockouts he's had in his career, which is, at this point, it's like, you're going in the negative, but, that's no here nor there. And the other fight was Tony Bellew versus David Haye, which ended in a TKO in the 11th round. I guess David Haye hurt his ankle, and they threw in the towel.
his tendons, his Achilles tendon, he torn it. So on the
I was shocked. I thought David Haye was gonna win that fight.
Yeah, he was a 6-1 under. He was a 6-1 favorite. And hey, I mean, the thing is this. Hey, the only reason I picked Hay because he's not a really skilled fighter. He's a guy that he did pretty good at cruiserweight and moved up and got his ass handed to him by Klitschko. And I mean, after that he haven't done anything. He retired. He come and fought two no-name guys, basically two bums. And hey, I mean, we thought that he probably was gonna pull it. He was so in good shape enough to beat him, but then supposedly he torn his Achilles on during training, etc., and he was fighting. He looked terrible. I thought I didn't see the whole fight. I watched a couple of rounds in the beginning, and then I watched it in the middle. I remember going to the 6th round. I'm like, oh, this guy is still. I saw Bellew still up, still fighting by the 6th. I was like, yeah, Bellew's gonna pull the upset, and that's exactly the round where he showed the injury, and after that it went to Bellew, hands down. They could have stopped this fight, probably in the 8th or so. But yeah, I mean. Who cares?
No, yeah.
So, yeah, man. I mean, that was it for the Saturday. I'm sorry, man, that I had to, not just in one occasion, but 2 occasions, teach you that you don't know shit about boxing. Now I'm playing better. My picks were better than yours. Well, that's what I'm saying.
Hey, I hope no one puts money on me, man.
Hey, I had to get some of them good because I started the year really bad. But
it's fine. No,
yeah.
Who's keeping tabs?
No, I'm not saying, but yeah, I mean
that's petty, man. It's like this guy's keeping.
All right, so let's move to the upcoming fights.
Just to mention, Clarissa Shields is gonna fight Sylvia Zabatos in Detroit. It's gonna be a 6-round fight for female middleweights. But the most significant fights coming up this weekend will be HBO cards in Turning Point Casino in Verona, New York. Where Curtis Stevens will fight David Lemieux. Fights in that undercard include Gamboa versus Rene Alvarado, Zachary Ochoa versus Yves Ulysses, and then Diego de la Hoya versus Roberto Pucheta. Truth be told, the last 2 fights I mentioned, when Diego de la Hoya and Pucheta and Zachary Ochoa versus Yves Ulysses, those are more basically make them look good fights at this point, just to build their resume. I obviously see both of those young fighters winning. Obviously, Oscar De La Hoya is doing a great job building up his stable, his fighters, to go into great fights in the future. As far as the Gamboa fight, I see that fight the same way. I looked at Rene Alvarado's record pretty much from what I'm looking at. Rene Alvarado has a record of 24 wins, 7 losses, 1 by KO. His last fight was a win versus a Jason Velez, but prior to that, his prior 2 fights were 1 loss and 1 KO, which was back in 2015. So I see Gamboa winning that fight, and obviously they're trying to build him up to fight someone important. Pretty much get him back on his feet ever since he had his 1 KO to Terrence Crawford. As far as the David Lemieux fight and Curtis Stevens, this one very intrigues me a lot because, I mean, both of those guys, they both have a common opponent, which is Triple G. Both of those fighters are power punchers, very strong guys. In my opinion, I felt Curtis Stevens performed better against Triple G, but triangulations can be off because, you know, this guy versus this guy doesn't always mean this guy versus this guy. Because, I mean, Triple G fought them both differently. If I had to make a determination on who would win based on this fight, just me putting something out there, I would say that David Lemieux would probably win this fight based on what I've seen. I think that Triple G fight really prepared him on how to fight a power puncher. And who knows, man? I wouldn't be surprised Lemieux is the one throwing out the jabs because I would imagine Curtis Stevens thinks he's going into a war in this fight, but Stevens is the same thing that was done to him by Triple G. He'd fare better, and and win the fight, a smarter way, and maybe get the knockout late in the fight. How do you see that turning out?
Well, this is a real hard fight to pick, and the reason why is they both have flaws, and then they both turn to some on and off. Like for instance, Lemieux in his last fight didn't look that great. Neither did Stevens, and we got to see who's coming into this fight. So if the hungry Lemieux comes in, the guy that put in the hard work in camp comes in, I'll favor Lemieux. And if the guy that doesn't make weight or struggles to make weight, then I'll probably favor Stevens. And this occasion is a fight that they've been talking about for almost a year now. A fight that been going on and off, and Stevens, I seen more of Stevens wanting this fight, so I might in that case try to edge a little bit to him. But I don't know, man. Like, it's a really hard fight to pick a winner because, in my opinion, I don't have a dog in this fight. Whoever wins. I think it will be better for Lemieux to win because then he'll fight Canelo, and that will be another mega fight. Or even Stevens, he could fight Stevens. They did a training camp together. They could use that as a story. So whoever wins will probably most likely be a opponent for Canelo in the future. But I don't know, man. You pick.
I pick David Lemieux winning this fight.
I'll pick Stevens just to go against you one more week. But honestly, like I said, I don't have a dog in this fight. I like them both. They guys that, and this is actually gonna could be the fight of the year. These guys are coming both to get a KO, and most likely we're gonna see it ending on a KO. But like I said, I'm just picking Stevens to go against you, but Lemieux might take it. Who knows? It's that kind of fight. What type? What kind of their kind, basically? Who's gonna show up? The Lemieux that comes in to fight, or the Stevens that come in prepared to fight, or we're gonna see a sloppy version of them. Depends on who comes in to fight. We're gonna get for me, the guy that's gonna want it the most is the guy who's gonna get it. But and the undercard, the Gamboa is a showcase fight. I think he should get a decision really easy. And Zachary Ochoa, a guy who's from my old neighborhood on Brooklyn, New York, I think he's gonna pull it as well. But that's my case. And then for across the pond, the Andre Boo Boo.
Yeah, let's talk about that fight real quick.
He's fighting
Jack Colquet from Germany with a record of 22-1.
He's actually, I think, Ecuadorian or something. He's just Ecuadorian. I know he's from South America. He just, he live in Germany now. Mm-hmm. But
I see Andrade winning that fight, man. I don't see
the only thing that I could see is maybe him. If it's a close fight, he might get robbed from. He might get robbed in a decision if it's a close fight. But other than that, I really doubt it's gonna be a close fight.
Does it mean the winner of this fight fights Erislandy Lara, the super champion?
Yeah, basically that's gonna be the mandatory, and it's a really good fight. And that's another fight that
with all due respect to Jack Colquet, I don't see him winning. But let's talk about Andrade versus Lara. How do you see that turning out? Really, this is a fantasy fight.
Nah, and it's a great fight.
I got Andrade winning because Lara slowed down a lot, man.
Yeah, it's an older version of Lara. It's a show of the Lara that fought Paul William, a show of the Lara that fought Canelo. He's slower now. He's a guy that haven't been fighting the top opponents, top division opponent. He's been fighting like no name guys, and the likes of Delvin Rodriguez. His last opponent who was Maroshin.
Who's that?
Lara's opponent, yeah.
Hey, he fought Yuri Foreman, man.
Yuri Foreman, yeah, his last guy.
Called Cotto moons ago.
So, sometimes when you're fighting that lower opposition, and this is the same thing that I think that happened to Garcia. Garcia never stepped it up after the Matisse fight that big, and when you're not fighting big names that are testing you, you just become at that level. And that's for me that the guy that is in the gym is the top guy, like a guy. Let's put an example, Triple G. He will never overcome nobody because he's a top guy. But when you got a guy that's hungry in the gym and he's trying to overcome the bigger guy, that guy will learn way more than the guy who's already on top. So, you know, like and we were probably gonna get into this topic next week, but like the fight from Triple G and Jacob, that's a really hard fight for Triple G because he don't fight that style often. But yeah.
That's pretty much it for this week, guys. We kept it short. Tune in next week for episode 17, where we'll discuss the Triple G versus Danny Jacobs fight, and obviously the undercards, including Chocolatico Gonzalez. But
and Quadra as well.
Yeah. Talk to you guys next week. Thank you for checking us out. Make sure to add us on Instagram at Boxing Rampage.
Give us thumbs ups, and
emails boxingrampage1. We're still building. We're in the building phase. Hate us, love us, whatever you want to do. Just take a listen. All right.
Yeah, and I actually went soft on JC this weekend because I know he's heartbroken, but he'll get better.
Nah, it's fine. He'll come back, bro. It's
all right, guys. Thank you very much for
God bless.
being part of the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Out.
I was taught in this concrete jungle, rumble, jungle,